Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I am joined today by Mrs. Natasha Miller, who is the author of Faith for the Mompreneur. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Dr. Campbell. Thank you so much for having me today.
I've been waiting on your interview. As you know, I'm in this midst of 52 authors. And when I started this journey, I was not so consumed with how I was going to get it done. I knew it was going to get done, but I knew that I had to have certain authors on the show because there are so many people who need to hear from you. So I want to start off before we get into the book, before we get into you telling our listening, viewing audience about you. I want to take a moment and give you your flowers. I think that we met probably about, I want to say close to 10 years ago. It was at AAPC conference.
Mhm.
You came up to me after I spoke, and we've been connected ever since. I consider you a friend. And so I see you as a mother, as a wife, as a Christian woman, as a friend, as a mentor, as a leader, as a teacher. I see you. And I think oftentimes we wait until we're looking over someone's casket to think about what we should have said, what we should not have said. And so I wanted to take a moment and celebrate you because I don't think we do that enough with women and just people in general.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm just like really shocked. Like you said, because we don't do that often enough. And I just really appreciate our friendship that we have. Meeting you in Las Vegas that year at the APC conference, it changed my life, right? I tell people the power of networking and how we met. And I said, I'm going to hear Dr. Lisa Campbell and I'm going to sit up front. And so as a result, we've been connected ever since. And so I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? Networking is so powerful. And it's my desire at the end of this 52 weeks that we've changed lives, but also that people are willing to step out of their comfort zone. As you know, I decided about a year ago, made a decision holding myself accountable by writing it in my book
Mhm.
that I was going to become comfortable being uncomfortable, which required me to step out of the space that I was operating in. And when I tell you, when I look at myself in the mirror, I see a different version of me, right? I've always been smiling and happy, but this version of me, which I'm calling 5.0, is so different because she's at peace and she's not walking around with the weight of the world on her shoulders. She's just in alignment with her assignment, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes, yes. It is amazing, right? To just be it on your assignment and in your purpose, right? That's so important. And I even talk about that in the book, and I know we'll get there, but I'm just excited for what God has for you, for your life, and for the things that are to come because you are amazing. And there's so many things, so many people that you're going to continue to reach. So I'm really excited for that.
Thank you. So let's tell our listening, viewing audience about Natasha. And hey, I know your middle name, and I'm all about middle names. So Natasha C. Miller.
Yes,
Tell
yes.
our listening and viewing audience about you, your background, your family, anything that you want to share.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. So, I am Natasha C. Miller, also known as the Medical Mompreneur. I've been in healthcare now over 24 years. And just a little bit about me, I originally thought I was going to be a nurse. When I was 10, I actually wanted to be an OB/GYN doctor. And I said, okay, that's too long of school. I'll go ahead and be a RN doctor and practice and be in the labor and delivery, right? I wanted to be there. But as I was going to school, I got my CNA, home health aide. I worked behind the scenes. I decided I still want to stay in healthcare, but I wanted to stay behind the scenes. And that's when I transitioned on. I finished my associate's of science degree in social sciences because I was taking all those prereqs for nursing. Then I decided to go ahead and get my Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Management. And it was during that time when I got introduced to the coding realm. I was already doing billing. I had worked for a urology clinic and I was a billing assistant, but the actual coding side of it, someone introduced me to that and said, hey, there's a great opportunity. You can make a lot of money. And this is like one of the best kept secrets. I said, okay, tell me more. And so I became certified, and becoming certified was one of the things that really helped change the trajectory of my life and for my family. I am married. I'm a wife, been married now 17 years. And we have 5 beautiful children, and I have a grandson. So our children range from ages 27 all the way down to 6, little Miss Nima. And I talk about her in my book. But after I got my Bachelor's of Science in Healthcare Management, I said, I wanted to specialize. So I went on and got my Master of Science in Health Information Management. And then that's when I was able to go and sit for the RHIA, which is the Registered Health Information Administrator. And so you have to read the book to learn even more about my story. But long story short, becoming certified was actually the key. It wasn't necessarily my degrees. My degrees have allowed me to be in position to do the consulting and to do some really great things in leadership. But as a coder, it was the certification. So if anyone is looking to become certified, I would really just point you into that direction. A lot of times we think we have to go pay a lot of money for a degree. You don't necessarily have to do that. And so we are a family of 5, like I mentioned, and me and my husband, we got married. I was young, 24. And so we were building our lives together. And it was a time where we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. He worked and took care of us, but I also wanted to contribute. And as a result, we've been able to now, with his income and my income, take really great vacations. I've been working from home. I have my own business, been in business now over 12 years. I'm also a professor and consultant, trainer, speaker, coach, and the list goes on.
I love it. And I loved hearing about your journey. I think oftentimes people see us today, they see the 2024 version of us, not realizing that there was a journey that we took part in, experience, right? That we might not have always looked like this, right? I
Right.
think people are fooled by the mask. When
Right.
you take off the hair and the makeup and the jewelry, what do you see out of that person? And I tell people all the time that, they may see me out and about and I got on some jeans, maybe some yoga pants, may not be matching, because I recognize who I am. I understand how I got here, but I don't lose sight of where I started, right? And I
Right.
don't feel like I need to walk outside every day with all these things on that don't mean anything, because the things won't save me
Right.
if the ambulance has to take me to the hospital, right?
Right.
So I try to, and I notice that you do the same thing. Just be authentically ourselves 24/7. That's so very important.
So
So we're not going to tell them all about the book, because as I tell everybody, and my husband said, you're doing these 52 authors. Are you buying all of these books? I'm like, yeah. So I bought the books, number one, first and foremost, not to get all these interviews, right? Because I am a reader. I love reading. In fact, I am in the middle of strategizing on how I can go somewhere, probably a cruise, for just 7 days and just by myself. I don't got to get off the ship, and just sit and read, write, reflect, release, because that's when I'm really preparing myself for the next phase in life. And
yeah.
so you're gonna hear me talk about that soon, because I'm gonna
Okay.
do it.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
gonna
Yes, yes.
look, I'm not gonna come out that room too often. I'm gonna be sitting on my balcony and just really, honestly, when I'm at sea and the boat is just doing this, I feel like I'm hearing from God too,
Mhm.
because I don't have the distractions of interviews and phones and all of that. And I'm really, it's really my one of my happy places.
Yes, yes.
So tell us what prompted you to write your book. And I'm holding it up because I want people to know that we're not going to tell you everything. You got to get
Right.
your own copy.
Yes, yes. So, what prompted me to write my book? Some may know I am a minister as well. And so, my faith is very important. Um, this is where I'm able to just lean on and get my strategies from, right? But writing my book, I wanted to share the faith that you can have as a mompreneur. So I'm known as the medical mompreneur because I started my business. My boys at that time were really young. And so I wanted to show how you can be available for your children and also be in business and in corporate if you choose to, right? And so I wanted to share my stories as it pertains to having faith and believe in the impossible. But then I also wanted to share in this book how if you want to step away from corporate America, you can do that, and how I was able to do that. I also wanted to provide to those who are looking to increase their income, how you can do that, the strategies and tools on how we were able to do that, because we weren't always at the top. We had to start from the bottom, right? Also, just I love to share my scriptures, but what really just inspired me to write my book is because it has been faith that has allowed me to continue to go from day to day, from the next thing to the next thing. One of my favorite scriptures is, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, right? And so I'm always turning to the Lord and I'm always praying, asking him, okay, give me the strength, show me what you want me to do, right? And ultimately, I wanted to share the things that I've been able to do to be able to help those who are trying to go the same direction as me.
I love it. I think back on my journey as a mother, and I don't know if I've ever really said this publicly. I may have, but I don't remember. But at this point in the over 50 club, all bets off. I'm gonna say it. You're gonna say, did she say it? Oh yeah, she said it, because that's just where I'm at in life. But I remember growing up, I never had a desire, honestly, to be a mother, right? I didn't even think about motherhood, being a wife. And when I became a mother, for a long period of time, I was just trying to figure out what my role was as a person, let alone a mother, right? And so growing up in the church, yes, I knew about faith, faith of a mustard seed, right? I knew all the scriptures and all the lines that everybody likes to quote, but it was in those deep, dark moments where I had to pull out the faith that I learned about and then allow it to work in my life, right? The prayers of my grandmothers and my aunts and uncles and all of that, that started to manifest. But being a mother, as well as being employed or an entrepreneur, it's tough. And I was watching, I think Tamarind Hall, I watch all the talk shows, right? Because my vision is that there will be a talk show on TV that I'm on. So I'm watching
Yes,
everybody else,
yes.
right?
I
I'm
love it. Yes.
watching them do their thing. And there was an episode recently where there are some women who believe that their role in life is to be a stay-at-home wife. They had a term for it. And maybe they don't have any kids, but they're a wife, and their job is to stay at home and take care of their spouse. And there are some women who talked about how they got lost in that space because they didn't know who they are. I got married older in life, and so that was a struggle all by itself because I was a whole person. He was a whole person. We're coming together. We weren't traditional, right? Because I wasn't around here cleaning the house, and I treated him as the king, the head of the household, but it was a balancing act. Lisa as the wife, mother, Lisa as the entrepreneur. And there are many times I said, okay, God, are you sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Because it's hard and I don't got a rule book, right? I don't got a rule book to help me navigate just all of the challenges that you experience living life. So you talk about faith. I'm not going to let the folks see the chapter because they got to get their own copy. But in section 3, and this is why I brought this up, you talk about faith for the mom and how we face a lot on a day-to-day basis. And I often wonder, how do we do all of this on a day-to-day basis? And then my question for you, if you had to tell your younger self something, what would you tell her?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, if I had to tell my younger self something, what would I tell her? Tell her you have the confidence, you have the strength, you are chosen, you are a child of God, right? And you are unique, and the world has something for you. Are the answer to someone's problem, right? And so I would just really tell my younger self, and this is what I do with my daughter now. She's like, my faith baby, and you can read about that in the book. Actually, on the cover is me and baby Nima, and I share what we went through with having her. But it's really important, if you do have little ones, that you speak into their lives, and you speak into their lives, especially as and talents that you can see that they have, and that you nurture that, right? And so um, growing up, I would speak, right? And now, people tell me I'm a great speaker, but just being able to nurture that as a child would have been even more of a blessing, right? And so when you know that you have someone, a child, or maybe even a niece or a nephew, and you can see the different skills that the Lord has blessed them with, or the talents, just be able to speak into their lives and share with them that keep going, right? Do not give up. Keep pursuing your dreams, what you have, what your vision is. I even think about my oldest son. He's 20. He'll be 21 this year. And he is just like, he surprises me with the things that he's doing, putting on a conference, um, no fear, right? And so that's something that I would teach and continue to share with my children. And even if I'm speaking back to my younger self, no fear. And I had to remind Nima of this just last night. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, and we come against anything that is not of God.
I love it. I love it. You probably, like me, grew up during a time frame where you were seen and not heard for the most part, right? You weren't allowed to have that voice. And I'm reminded, I grew up in Chicago, Chicago public schools. And on the back of my report card, this is just shows you how powerful words are. The back of my report card, it said, check, talks too much. And I think that if I would have allowed that to silence me, I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm like, you can't tell me I can't use my voice. And now, as a mother of a 32-year-old who has never uttered a word, I know how important and powerful our voices are. And I love watching Miss Nima on Facebook. I can recall sometimes you're in the car and we're chatting, and she's in the background and she's like in the conversation too.
Yes.
But, these kids come out as a product of us in a time where there's so much that the world has to offer. Why not cultivate that? earlier you talked about the degree versus the certification. And people tell me all the time, well, not all the time, but sometimes people think that the degree is what sets me apart from everybody else. But honestly, first and foremost, it's me as a person. I was born as a leader. The
Yes.
degrees help with the things that I wanted to do,
Mhm.
leading professionally,
Mhm.
teaching professionally, right?
Yes.
But it was my level of emotional intelligence and
Yes.
my ability to connect with others is what really has helped me grow. And if I were to allow myself to operate based on how others think I should operate, I wouldn't be this far along.
That's right. Yes. So true. Yes. Yes.
So, I know you have a Facebook group and some other things. You're on Instagram. I think the Facebook group might be by invite only. Because out in these virtual streets, people are a little special. But I know you got Facebook groups, you go live on Instagram. So, what are you, because we want folks to get the book. So we'll chat a little bit about the book, but we're gonna talk about some other stuff too. So what's your main messaging on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook? Who are you looking to serve?
Yes, I am looking to serve women and moms in particular. If they are looking to level up their skill sets as it pertains to coding, medical coding, level up in career development, professional development, you want to get a clear understanding on how to have a successful career as a medical coder, I'm here to serve you. We also do help mid-size, large-size organizations with reimbursement, training, clinical documentation. And so we provide that on the consulting side. But particularly my mission, my purpose, I know has been set to help women and moms. And that's why I'm known as the medical mompreneur. We have an awesome Facebook group, Medical Billing and Coding Careers for Moms. So that's Medical Billing and Coding Careers for Moms. And that's where I actually do a lot of lives in there. I give them tips, tutorials, resources. We have a webinar coming up soon in April, and this is going to be a webinar on actually how to build a successful career in medical coding. So if you're looking to get into this industry or you're already certified, you're stuck on what to do, you're looking to advance, this webinar also will be for you. And we're on Instagram at Medical Mompreneur. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Natasha C. Miller. Natasha C. Miller is my website, so I'm there able to assist you. Yes.
I love all the consistency in the branding. I know when I think about myself as an entrepreneur, if I were to tell my younger self something, I would say to make the decisions sooner. I think oftentimes we know that there's something we're supposed to do, but we don't have the faith in ourselves, the faith in the process to do it. So that's something that I would definitely tell myself. Also, this episode will probably air after April. So I want folks to make sure that they are tapping into your website and social media. And I'm not going to even tell you when this episode is going to air. One of the things that I desire about the platform that I have is that it's authentic, that we're reaching people who breathe like us. Notice I didn't say look like us. I said breathe because we want to impact everyone that sees this. And when they see it on the day that I'm going to show it, you're going to be surprised. They're gonna enjoy it, and that's what I love about being my authentic self, right? As I've allowed myself to continue to grow, and I'm so glad that you mentioned coding because I want everybody to know. Contact Natasha C. Miller if you're talking about coding because every day on LinkedIn, somebody's like, don't you do coding? No, like I'm in a different phase in life. I'm into motivating and leading and inspiring. And I gave the coding, billing, 32 years of life, right? And so now I'm moving into the next phase of my life, have already moved there. Still do some revenue cycle, compliance, clinical documentation improvement projects here and there, but that's not the future of Lisa L. Campbell, right?
Yes.
So if you could share some words of wisdom, and I love how you have the scriptures in a portion of the book. We're not going to tell them where because we want them to buy the book. I like how you have the scriptures because some people have gotten away from, religion, faith. And I like one of the scriptures you quoted, Isaiah 61:7. Instead of your shame, you shall have double honor. Instead of confusion, they shall rejoice in your portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess double. Everlasting joy shall be theirs. And this is the New King James Version for those who are like, what? That doesn't sound like, the official King James Version. But in today's world, you have to make things plain for people. I think about, me growing up in church. I didn't always understand the things. And so I like how when you're out there educating others about coding and clinical documentation, I see your little blurbs on LinkedIn, as well as Instagram. You make it plain for people to understand, right? Things don't have to be so complex. I think the complexity is what has been put in place to keep people out. And I don't want to keep people out. I want to let people in so that they can grow and experience life like we have. So, what are your final parting words of wisdom for the moms out there? It hasn't been easy always. There's always going to be a phase in life where you're going to have to pivot and draw upon your faith and draw upon your community. But what are some words of wisdom, some parting words that you want to leave our listening, viewing audience with?
Yes, thank you. I just want to encourage you on today to not give up. Do not lose your faith. No matter what you've been through or what you're experiencing right now, right? Like Dr. Lisa Campbell said, we all experience. So read about it. One thing that I has given up. Stay consistent in what you are doing. You will see the next, right? You will get there if you stay consistent. So if you're taking the class, take the class one at a time or two at a time, right? Be there for yourself as well as for your children. And if you're married, your spouse, right? And also self-care is so important, right? We want to make sure that we are mentally taking care of ourselves, spiritually taking care of ourselves, right? And so there's different things that you can do, but you want to have that time for yourself. That's one of the ways that I'm able to continue to keep pushing and keep going is because I monthly will have some self-care. But yes, my encouragement for you in the Bible says all you need is a faith of a size of a mustard seed. So that's a small little seed. You don't need to have this big old giant seed, right? Start there with your small seed and watch it grow. Write down once you see those things accomplished, those goals accomplished. That's going to give you even more faith. That's going to increase your faith. And that's going to allow you to say, I can keep going. And so that's what I encourage you on today.
I love it. One of the things I do for myself, I believe in self-care. But sometimes I'm just reminded of a scripture or a song, just something that just reminds me, it won't always be like this. And that sooner or later, things are
Yes.
going to turn around, but I got to keep putting in the work. I think that that's the missing piece. We give up too easy and we think we're going to click a button and all of a sudden the things are going to happen. you have to keep pressing forward, even when you don't see the end, even when people aren't supporting you.
Right.
Um, I remember so many times as a mother, I didn't feel supported, I didn't feel loved, but something inside of me just allowed me to keep fighting. And then I look back 32 years later and like, wow, how did you do all of that? But I know it's because I kept pushing.
Yes, keep pushing. That is something that someone told me when I first started my business, is just to stay consistent. And that consistency has allowed me to stay in business. Now I pivoted, I've evolved, but I'm still pressing forward, right? And so it's like running your race. Keep running your race. Don't stop. It's a
Lord,
marathon,
I'm
right? It's
running.
right, right. It's not a sprint. And my last encouragement, I tell my students this all the time: your short term sacrifice will be a long term reward. And so, if you're taking that coding course, right, it could be about 4 months. Even if you're in college, that's still a short term sacrifice. It's going to yield a long term reward.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's our time for today, everyone. This has been another episode, amazing episode. 52 authors, 52 weeks. See you next week.